2008, the year we got the first Iron Man movie that literally started the MCU. The year when teenagers were picking sides between a vampire and a fucking werewolf. And also the year when poking on Facebook was still a thing.
Oh my god, you have a MySpace page, don't you, dork?
I do not.
Will you add me as a friend? I'll poke you, you poke me back.
I said shut up!
But most importantly, it was the year when we got one of the best Spider-Man games of all time. You see, after having a few not so great Spider-Man games back to back, which ranged from mediocre to oh my god, please make it stop,
I'm going to die!
People were desperate for a good Spider-Man game. A game that was supposed to be different, innovative, and most importantly, fun to play. And that's exactly when Shaba Games entered the chat and gifted us with Spider-Man Web of Shadows. And let's just say, they fucking nailed it. The game told a dark story, where you played as a sad Spider-Man, and your choices throughout the game could make it literally one of the most darkest and depressing Spider-Man game ever. The game also had a really cool mechanic, where you could switch between the classic suit and the symbiote suit within a press of a button, with each suit offering unique combos and fighting styles. The game had a huge open world with really amazing and fluid web swinging mechanics, and it also had one of the best combat systems ever seen in any Spider-Man game. This game ticked all the boxes. It was different, it was innovative, and most importantly, it was really fun to play. But the thing is, critics didn't exactly like this game. Web of Shadows got bad ratings, mainly because the game had poor voice acting, a story that was all over the place, boring quests and repetitive missions, and it also had some performance issues. And all of these factors caused the game to receive poor reviews, which eventually led to Activision shutting down Shaba Games. Nowadays, when we talk about a good Spider-Man game, most people would usually think of the Insomniac games. And to be honest, these are pretty good games with amazing web swinging, great combat, really good story and characters, and beautiful visuals. They really give you a great Spider-Man experience. But before these Insomniac games, Spider-Man Web of Shadows was considered as one of the best Spider-Man games ever made. And even to this day, a lot of people still consider this game as a masterpiece. But the question is, why is that? What exactly makes this game so special? And why does this game still hold a special place in the hearts of many Spider-Man fans, despite all of its flaws? And why people still consider it as a masterpiece? The game opens with Moonlight Sonata playing in the background. We see the city under chaos and a sad Spider-Man walking on a rooftop. We see a chopper crash into the building, there are SHIELD soldiers fighting the symbiote enemies, but Spider-Man is not trying to help anyone. He seems really depressed. It feels like he just watched La La Land for the first time. He then jumps off the building and starts swinging and beating the enemies one by one. After that, we beat some symbiotes, save a SHIELD agent, all while looking for MJ.
Where is Cage and his search party? Where is MJ? Where's Cage and his search party? The civilian volunteers! Pretty redhead, arm in a cast! Calm down!
MJ eventually shows up with Luke Cage, but they don't seem really happy to see you.
MJ, I'm so worried.
Damn it! Is it really you this time?
I promise, I won't use it again.
You promise? We are way past that.
We ain't got time for this.
Then we see a dark figure appear in the distance, and Spider-Man is trying to choose which side to take, while suddenly he gets captured by the symbiotes and then the screen goes to black. That's basically the opening of this game. And I fucking love this opening. It immediately sets the vibe of this game and also makes it clear that this is going to be a really dark story. And it also gives you a hint that using the black suit will have huge consequences. After this, we go back a few days when the city was still in good shape, and we see Spider-Man fighting Venom. This is where he ends up absorbing some of the symbiotes and get the black suit.
Venom, get ready for a world of pain.
After this, you beat the shit out of Venom by throwing literal fucking cars until his health bar goes to 0. Just as you are about to catch him, MJ calls for you, and then Venom runs away. Yeah, So turns out MJ is injured, so she has to go to the hospital. And also she gives Spider-Man his birthday present, which he definitely loves very much.
I love my present. I love my present.
At this point, it's pretty obvious that the voice acting in this game is kinda bad. Now don't get me wrong, there are some characters like Wolverine or Black Cat that has pretty decent voice acting.
This some kind of damn superhero fashion show. Cause I got some orange and brown tights that put you to shame.
But most of the other characters has really bad voice acting that just feels totally out of place. Especially Spider-Man's voice acting is the worst of them all. He doesn't even sound like Spider-Man, his voice sounds really fucking annoying.
Where's Luke Cage?
Take it easy.
Girl with the shotgun!
What?
Answer me!
Then we have Venom as the villain of this game. His voice is also pretty good, but only when you can actually fucking hear it.
Don't you believe in adoption, Parker? After all, you're the mommy.
Huh? Most of the dialogues that Venom has, which is again not a lot, is really hard to understand. His voice has this growling effect which is supposed to make his voice sound more menacing, but it's implemented in such a way that it's really hard to make out what is he exactly even trying to say. What are you even saying? These are just some examples of bad voice acting. Now, even though the game's story does have a lot of issues that I will discuss later in this video, but there is one element in Web of Shadows that it portrays really fucking well, and that is the theme of addiction.
If I go against everything I stand for, will it be enough? Or am I already too late? How do I turn back the darkness without losing myself to it?
The black suit is a big part of this game. You literally get this suit at the very beginning and you can use it whenever you like. In the comics and movies, or even in the latest Spider-Man 2 game, we can see that the symbiote has a huge effect on Peter's life. It slowly changes him, giving him more strength, better reflexes, and more confidence. At first, he uses it only when it's necessary, but slowly he starts using it more and more. Peter gets addicted to this suit. The symbiote starts to influence his mind, making him more aggressive and angry, leading him to slowly lose his responsibilities. And eventually, Peter starts doing immoral things. And Web of Shadows perfectly manages to create this same symbiotic addiction in the player itself, which means you, the person who is playing the game. At the start of the game, the black suit doesn't have much purpose, and also air combat kinda sucks in this suit. So the only thing it is good for is ground combat, so you only use it when it's absolutely necessary. But as you progress through the game and start leveling up the black suit, it keeps getting better and better, and you start using it even more, mainly because the fights end much quicker and using the suit makes you feel more powerful. From the very opening, the game makes it very clear that using the black suit is morally bad. Everyone in the city is also scared of this black suit. But as long as you choose the good choices, using the black suit won't affect the ending. You can use it as much as you want without any consequences. If you are always choosing the good option, then you will always end up getting the good ending. Your gameplay has nothing to do with the actual story. And whether it was intentional or not, this whole aspect of this game also feeds into the symbiotic addiction. When there are no rules and regulations, no restrictions or any consequences of your actions, will you still do the morally right thing? I'm guessing most of the people would answer yes. Even if there are no consequences of doing something bad, most of the people will still choose to do the morally right thing, which in the case of Web of Shadows is using the classic red suit. But when the game keeps getting harder and harder, and there are not any actual consequences of using the black suit in gameplay, will you still not use it? If a boss fight is getting harder or some enemy is getting really annoying, then why not just use the black suit? I mean, as long as I am choosing the good choices, I will get the good ending. If choosing the morally wrong thing is helping the city, then what's wrong with using the black suit? And just like that, you start using the black suit more and more, justifying it by saying that you are helping the city. You slowly start to get addicted to the symbiote, and eventually you will start using the black suit all the time. which is totally opposite of how it was at the start of the game. And that's basically how addiction works. And by the end of the game, if you choose the good endings, then you will lose the black suit. And after that, you will feel empty. It would be like half of your power is gone, enemies are now suddenly harder, and you don't have your tendril attacks anymore. And then you will start to miss the black suit. Now again, I don't know if this whole addiction aspect of this game was intentional or not, but this is one of my most favorite aspects of this game. The way the game makes you feel addicted to the symbiote just like Peter, and the way the game makes you use the black suit more and more, while also making it totally your choice to whether use it or not, is actually fucking amazing. Now of course you can choose not to go into this whole morality concept and play the game as you like, using any suit at any time you want, without caring about the story and the whole morality concept at all. But if you follow the main story and try to roleplay a bit as Spider-Man and see the game from that point of view, you will have a totally different experience. And I don't see a lot of people talk about this whole morality concept or this symbiotic addiction aspect of this game, but this is something that I really love about Web of Shadows. Anyway, continuing the story, after reaching the hospital, some gang members show up, so you start beating them, until Luke Cage appears and helps you in the fight. And after this, the game throws a bunch of tutorials right at your face. Luke Cage, of all people, teaches you how to use your spider sense, how to use web strikes, how to do a swing kick, cause apparently he has more knowledge about these things than Spider-Man himself. Anyway, this whole sequence is for you to get familiar with the game's mechanics. After that, Luke tells you to set up a parley between the two gang leaders, so that it will stop the gang war that's going on in the city.
Tonight, at sundown, in the park. Be there or be square.
Be square.
Once you reach the parley location, you suddenly see some snipers show up who are trying to stop the parley. So now you have to stop them. And this particular mission is infamous for being really annoying, because now you have to web strike more than 20 fucking enemies. Oh, and also you have to do it twice! After beating the first wave, you see some photos that prove that the gang war was a setup. And then you beat another wave of 20 plus enemies with your web strike. Now don't get me wrong, I love the web strike mechanic, but doing it this many times in a row is not exactly fun. Anyway, after that, you get your first choice in the game. Now throughout this game, there will be multiple occasions where you have to make a choice and choose a path. The red suit option is always the good choice, while the black suit option is always the bad choice or the dark choice. And depending on the path you choose, you will get different dialogues, different scenarios, and alternate endings. But the thing is, most of the choices that you make in this game will basically have no impact on the ending whatsoever. There are very few situations where your choice will actually affect the game. Most of the time, your choices will just not matter. Anyway, here, if you choose the good option, then Spider-Man will show the photos and stop the gang war. And if you choose the bad option, then Spider-Man will just let them kill each other. I chose the good option. After this incident, to figure out who sent the snipers, Spider-Man decides to visit the Fisk Tower, because Kingpin seems to be the most obvious choice. And here we see Black Cat escaping the tower, so Spider-Man decides to chase her, which leads to our next boss fight. Now this is a pretty cool boss fight. The whole fight is basically you chasing Black Cat all over the city and fighting on the rooftops. And throughout the chase, you will also fight these gliding and armored enemies. And also, at one point, Moon Knight shows up for reasons. Anyway, the actual fight with Black Cat is also pretty cool. Her attacks are pretty strong, she moves a lot, and she counters your web strikes more often. And she also does a lot of grapple attacks, where she will grab you, then kiss you, and then she will fucking throw you away. Or sometimes, she will literally slap your face. If this is not true love, then I don't know what is. Once the boss fight is done, what you will get next is one of the best part of this entire freaking game. Quick time events. Web of Shadows has one of the most funniest QuickTime events I have ever seen. Anytime you fail a QuickTime event in this game, you get a really dumb and funny animation. I mean, just look at it.
Gotcha. Oh!
Every time there's a new QuickTime sequence, I always purposely fail them, just to see the funny outcomes. After all the chasing and fighting, you find her sitting on top of a building.
Felicia, you in there? Kitty, kitty, kitty.
I'm right here, you idiot.
She says that she's working from the inside and trying to help you. And also she still has feelings for you and loves you.
Be with me. Together we can be whatever we want. Free to have fun. You do like fun, don't you?
And now you have to make a choice. But to be honest, this choice is, well, very simple. And from here on out, she will start giving you new quests. Oh, and if you choose the good option, then Moon Knight will give you the missions. So it's either Black Cat or Moon Knight. I think the choice is pretty simple. So after this, you do a bunch of missions where you beat up Kingpin's enemies, stop a bank robbery, fight some mechs. Oh, and also do a boss fight with Vulture. Now this Vulture boss fight is actually pretty fun. Most of the fight takes place above the entire city, so you can't exactly use your webs to swing. You have to use your web strike abilities and tendril attacks to fight with Vulture. Halfway through the fight, he goes really far away from you, and these enemies with the gliders will show up. So you have to use your web strike ability to jump over these enemies and reach Vulture. Throughout the fight, because you can't use your web swinging, it adds an extra level of challenge in the boss fight. And overall, it is actually a really fun boss fight. After defeating Vulture, you get some funny quick time events, and then the game gives you another choice. Now here again, the choices doesn't exactly matter. If you choose the red option, then Spider-Man calls the cops on him, and if you choose the black option, then he doesn't. But both of these choices doesn't have any impact on the story whatsoever. Now before we progress through the story, let's talk about the gameplay mechanics of this game, because Web of Shadows has one of the best combat system and web swinging mechanics I have ever seen in any Spider-Man game. Web of Shadows combat can be divided into 3 segments. We got ground combat, wall combat, and air combat. And this combat style also changes depending on the suit you are wearing. The game has 2 different suits, and both of these suits have different purposes. The red suit has really fast combos. You deal less damage, but you are extremely fast. You have the spinning attacks, really fast punching attacks. You can also shoot webs really fast to slow down the enemies, and the special attacks are also really useful. The red suit is also amazing in air combat. And overall, this suit gives you a lot of agility. And then on the other hand, we have the Symbiote suit. This suit has slower but really hard-hitting moves. The suit makes you feel extremely powerful. Heck, you can literally kill people while in the black suit. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's dead. You can swing and slam enemies around like they're nothing. You can delete the entire health bar of an enemy by choking them to death. You can literally hover mid-air while choking the enemy. I don't even know how it's possible, but it looks so badass. This suit's special attacks are also really powerful. I mean, just look at the damage. With this suit, you can't shoot webs, but instead you get tendril attacks. You see, stronger enemies can counter your web strikes more often, but they cannot counter your tendril attacks. You can pull the enemies towards you and then choke them or throw them around, and if the enemy is big, then you can dash towards them and start doing your combos. And oh boy, the combos. I mean, just look at it. With this suit, you can literally destroy waves of enemies within just seconds. Overall, the black suit is really powerful. And on top of all this, you have the web strike mechanic. The web strike can be used in multiple ways. You will mainly use it to get near an enemy and do a particular move. You can literally fucking skate the enemies or do whatever the fuck this is. There are just so many possibilities. And if all of this was not enough, you can combine the movesets of both of these suits in the middle of the combat and create really sick moves, which makes the combat even more fun. The only issue I have with this game's combat system is the wall combat. The camera of this game literally fucks itself whenever I'm doing wall combat, and the controls also feels a bit weird. But other than that, the combat system of this game is fucking amazing. Another thing that the game does really well is the web swinging. The swinging in this game is really fluid and satisfying. At first glance, the web swinging might seem very simple, but if you go a little deep into the mechanics, then you can do a lot of cool shit. You can swing on the poles and street lights, you can wall run, use a web zip, climb your webs mid-swing, pull yourself upwards, literally slide on a building, or do this in the middle of your swing. I mean, come on, just look at it. It looks pretty cool. Now, even though the webs don't attach to the buildings, but still the height of each building around you matters when you are swinging. And that's why you can't exactly swing with your webs when you are really high on the sky or when you are in a location with no buildings. Your swinging height changes depending on the area you are in, which also is a really interesting detail. The only issue I have with swinging is doing the transition between swinging to wall running. You need to press a specific button when you are near the wall to start doing the wall run. And I only have this problem mainly because I'm used to playing the Insomniac games. But then again, it's not exactly a problem, but rather a different control that I had to get used to. But other than that, the whole web swinging system of this game is actually really fun. The open world of this game is also really interesting. All the small objects, cars, and even a lot of buildings around the city are breakable. You will also find the spider tokens all around the city, and collecting them will increase your level. This also makes exploring the open world somewhat rewarding. Although there are so many of them that collecting all is not even an option. As you progress through the story, the open world keeps changing. At the beginning, the city is normal, with normal people and cars going around the open world. But slowly, everything starts to change as you keep doing main quests. And it reaches to a point where the entire city gets infested with symbiotes, and it literally becomes a post-apocalyptic open world. Overall, all the gameplay mechanics of this game is really well made. I mean, we can clearly see that most of the hard work went into making the gameplay as fun and as fluid as possible. Anyway, back to the story. While doing missions for Black Cat, you will reach a point in the story where this crazy infected people will start attacking you. And this is where the actual main plot of this game starts. So once these people start attacking, Spider-Man does the stupidest thing that he possibly could do. He beats up these innocent people just because they're acting really aggressive, and then he fucking throws them off the building. I mean, why? Spider-Man could have easily webbed them up and then handed them to the police or some doctor or something, but no! He fucking throws them off the building.
Hey! These lunatics attacked me! They're obviously not normal human beings!
I mean, clearly, this Spider-Man only means business.
And stop throwing people off rooftops if you can help it.
After this incident, Black Cat tells you to go to Hell's Kitchen, and here you will meet Wolverine. Now he can smell the symbiote inside your body, so he considers you as a threat and starts attacking you. This boss fight was also really fun. Wolverine is really strong, and his combos will literally throw you halfway across the arena. And he also regenerates his health. Once you deal enough damage, he will go to a high ground and ask you random questions about Spider-Man to figure out if you are truly the real Spidey.
What is critical mass?
Huh? If you answer correctly, you will get red points, and if you fail, you will get black points. And depending on your answers, the difficulty of the fight will either increase or decrease. Halfway through the fight, some infected people will start attacking you. If you beat these infected people, then you will also get some red points. And if you hit Wolverine during this time, then you will get black points. Overall, it is a pretty fun boss fight. Once you defeat him, he will accept the fact that you can control your symbiote and will teach you how to identify the infected people with your spider sense. And from this point onwards, he will start giving you missions. Web of Shadows is also criticized for its characters. There are a shit ton of Marvel heroes and villains in this game, which some people doesn't exactly like, mainly because none of these characters gets enough screen time or character development. But I personally love it. I love seeing these characters and their interactions with Spider-Man. I think it's pretty cool. And also you can even call some of them to help you in a fight, which is awesome. I don't think there will ever be another Spider-Man game with this many characters, and that's also what makes Web of Shadows so special. But the thing that I hate about this game is how the story is structured around these characters. Throughout the game, these characters will show up only to give you quests or to do a boss fight. Most of the time, they will just stand in a fixed location where you can chat with them a bit, and then they will direct you towards the next main mission or some side quests. And after doing some quests for them, another character will appear and then they will start giving you your new missions and new side quests instead of the previous character. And this thing keeps going on until the very end of the fucking game. And also the side missions in this game really suck. Most of the side quests are basically defeat X amount of enemies or save X amount of people or destroy X amount of hives, and it just gets extremely repetitive after a while. After the boss fight, you do some missions for Wolverine by going around the city and beating these innocent people. until you find Venom. You see Venom capturing civilians and turning them into symbiotes. And this boss fight is actually pretty hard. Venom's attacks are really strong. He also summons symbiotes around him, and these hives are also really annoying. And on top of all this, most of the fight will happen in a really small area, so if you mess up, you can die really quick. After dealing some damage, he starts running around the city and you have to follow him. During this whole chase, even though you can hit him, it will just not matter. He will always end up healing all the damage that you inflict on him. He will only take damage in the scripted areas. And this kinda sucks. It would have been so much fun if you could just fight with him throughout the city while also chasing him. But sadly, we can't do that. After finally defeating Venom, Spider-Man lets him escape. Again. This is the second time he has done the same thing. What the f is he doing? Venom literally escaped and Spidey lands in this epic hero pose like he did something. You did nothing. Venom is still going to infect more people. You let him escape. You accomplished nothing. After this, you go to a SHIELD quarantine zone where SHIELD has locked up some of these infected people. And it seems like they missed one. Here, you also meet Black Widow, although she doesn't seem very happy to see you. And then you do another boss fight. Yeah. This time, it's Electro. In this boss fight, you chase Electro around the city and fight him on different locations. This boss fight also have the same problem, where you can only deal damage in scripted locations. You can't deal any damage while chasing him. But the biggest problem that I faced in this fight was the fucking camera. The camera will literally get a stroke in the middle of the combat and will disorient everything on the screen. And it is so fucking annoying. After defeating Electro, he gets shot by Black Widow, and then he absorbs some symbiote and turns into Symbiote Electro, and then he fucking explodes. Good times. Seeing everything around the city literally going to shit, Spider-Man decides to call some smart people who can help him in this situation. He calls for Mr. Fantastic, Hank McCoy, and Tony Stark, but none of them were available at that moment. They were busy doing something more important than stopping this fucking apocalypse. Although Mr. Fantastic gets a pass because he was on a different solar system or something.
He is away on urgent business in another star system. Please leave a message. Mailbox full.
Ah, fine.
Now because these people were not available, Spider-Man settles for the next best option, the Tinkerer. But the only problem is he's locked up in the Rikers prison, so Spider-Man decides to break him out. Again, clearly this Spider-Man only means business. After this, the game gives you another choice where you have to choose between Vulture and Moon Knight on who would be the one flying you to the prison. Again, this choice also doesn't affect the story whatsoever, and also who in their right mind would choose fucking Vulture? Anyway, after going to prison, we beat the shit out of these innocent guards who were just doing their job, then ride Rhino and break through the security and prison walls and break out the Tinkerer. Here we also get another choice to either set free Rhino or let him stay inside the prison, and again none of those choices exactly affect the game's story whatsoever. And once you get out of the prison, you'll realize that the city is literally f***ed. There are symbiotes everywhere and SHIELD destroys all the bridges, putting the city under lockdown. So now the main plan is that Tinkerer will make a device that will destroy all the symbiotes around the city without hurting its hosts. And he also makes some interesting demands.
$25 million in cash, full pardon, and this castle in Italy with this woman from my favorite tool calendar waiting by the pool.
Clearly, a man of culture. After this, the game picks up its pace and throws a bunch of boss fights right at your face. The first boss we fight is the Symbiote Electro. And this boss fight, how do I put it? It fucking sucks. Electro just stands at the center of the arena and shoots electricity at you, while all you do is run around the area destroying electropods and the symbiote enemies. And after that, you do some damage to Electro until he spawns more enemies, and then you just repeat the whole process. This entire boss fight is just really stupid and boring. After the boss fight, again you get a choice, which again doesn't affect the story at all. Now after the Symbiote Electro, next is the Symbiote Wolverine boss fight. But before that, the game makes you do some more filler missions. These missions include hovercraft evacuation 4 times in a fucking row, escorting hovercraft around the city, destroying 10 vulture pods and 30 vulturelings, defending the shield safe zone, and then blowing up that safe zone with airstrike just after a few minutes. And now, it's time for this symbiote Wolverine. The whole thing starts in a church where you and Wolverine are trying to evacuate civilians by clearing the symbiotes. While escaping in the hovercraft, Wolverine gets infected with symbiote. And this is where the boss fight starts. And oh boy, it's epic. I mean, just look at this cutscene.
Biggest guy in the bar.
This Wolverine is strong. His basic attacks deals a lot of damage, and he does a lot of grapple attacks where he will hold you and throw you halfway across the fucking map. After dealing him some damage, he will absorb a symbiote pod and will get a symbiotic armor, which will cover his entire body with what seems like more adamantium claws. And oh boy, he looks menacing. After defeating him, the game again gives you a choice. If you choose the black option, then Spider-Man will literally tear Wolverine into half. And if you choose the red option, then he will not tear him into half, obviously. After this whole boss fight, you meet up with MJ and Luke Cage and help them evacuate people from Harlem. And here, Spider-Man also promises to not use the black suit again.
Promise me, no more dark suit.
I promise.
Although you still can use the black suit as much as you want without any consequences. It's just up to your own morality on whether you will use it or not. At the end of this whole escorting mission, Spider-Man ends up losing MJ and Luke Cage. Like, he has no clue on where they actually are, so he goes around looking for them.
Where's Luke Cage? Girl with the shotgun! What? Answer me! I never should have let her go!
Let me guess. Spider-Man.
And why there are 2 kingpins? Anyway, Spider-Man is now sad and depressed. He can't find MJ, and this leads to the opening scene of the game. Spider-Man looks for MJ, fights some enemies, then a mysterious figure shows up, and then he gets captured by the symbiotes, which leads him to use the black suit one more time.
One more time!
And now, it's time for the symbiote Black Cat boss fight. It's just like the first Black Cat fight, but on steroids. Her moves are really strong and deals a shit ton of damage. Like, if you mess up, then you will die within a few hits. She also summons a lot of symbiotes throughout the fight. Halfway through the fight, MJ will also show up with a shotgun and help you. After defeating Black Cat and going through some funny quick time events, we get one of the most important decisions in the entire game, choosing between Black Cat and MJ, and this choice will affect the ending. And it also kinda sucks, because if you want the good ending, then you have to choose MJ, and if you choose Black Cat, then you will get one of the bad endings. I wish there was a good ending with Black Cat, but sadly there is not. Anyway, because I wanted the good ending, I chose MJ. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. Because the game f***ing made me. And now, we are in the end game. The city is now really f***ed. Oops, wrong game. The city is covered with symbiotes. There are really strong enemies everywhere, and it literally feels like apocalypse. Next, we have the symbiote vulture boss fight. And this fight is also nothing special. It's a lot similar to the first vulture fight. But this time, everyone is covered with symbiote. Same as before, you use your web strike to get closer to vulture and hit him until his health drops to 0. After that, you do a bunch of funny quick time events. This never gets old. And now, it's time for the final battle. Depending on the choices you made, Spider-Man will activate the Tinkerer's device that will destroy all the symbiotes around the city, including yours as well. But wait, there's more. Turns out there are still some symbiotes left on the SHIELD helicarrier, so the new plan is to blow this entire fucking thing up. Truly, this Spider-Man only means business. So you go to the helicarrier, beat some symbiotes and plant some bombs, and then suddenly this happens. A gigantic Venom with multiple heads shows up on the helicarrier. Where did he come from? Who cares? Why did nobody saw him coming? Again, who the f cares? All I know is this looks epic. This shot is freaking perfection. This shot is pure cinema. On one side, we have this huge monster, and on the other side, we have tiny Spider-Man standing still, unfazed, and even making silly jokes.
You are in way over your multiple heads. You and this ship are going down.
It's like Spider-Man is looking directly into the abyss, and when the abyss stared back, Spider-Man didn't even blink. And I know I'm going too deep into this one shot, but come on, look at this. How can I not? This is one of the most memorable moments of this entire game. Whenever someone talks about Web of Shadows, this is the image that comes to mind. And also the depressing Spider-Man, but you get the point. This shot is special. Now after this, what follows is the final boss fight. Now even though this boss fight looks really epic and cinematic, the actual gameplay is, well, really basic. All you do is web strike the Venom's head one by one until all of them eventually explode. That's pretty much it. Throughout the fight, Venom will also summon a lot of symbiotes, but they are also not that big of a threat because you don't even have to fight them, you can just keep swinging around. Overall, it is a pretty basic fight. Anyway, after the fight, you do some quick time events, and then the smaller Venom, or the normal sized Venom I guess, jumps outside and he realizes that everything is going out of his control. And here you get the final choice of this game. If you select the good option, then Venom will sacrifice himself, causing the entire helicarrier to catch fire and then explode, which will also destroy all the remaining symbiotes. Then the city goes back to normal and you fly away with MJ. And that's it. That's basically the good ending. Now Web of Shadows has a total of 4 endings. One where you swing away with MJ, which is the best ending. Another one where you choose the right ending, but because you made some stupid decision along the way, MJ is now not talking to you. And then we have 2 dark endings. One where you are the leader of all the symbiotes with Black Cat on your side, and another one where you are still the leader but you don't have Black Cat on your side. And that's basically Spider-Man Web of Shadows. What makes Web of Shadows so special and so memorable is its gameplay, its cool and funny moments throughout the story, and the whole morality system with multiple endings. All of this combined together is what made Web of Shadows one of the best Spider-Man games ever. Now, is it better than the Insomniac games? Well, both of these games have amazing combat systems, both of these games have amazing web swinging, but where the Insomniac games exceeds Web of Shadows is the story, the characters, the voice acting, and of course the visuals. But then again, you can literally throw cars in Web of Shadows. So, I don't know, it's a tough competition. But in all seriousness, overall the game is just not that polished. But if you can look past all of these issues, then you will have one of the best Spider-Man experiences ever, with fun gameplay, cool features, and amazing moments throughout the game. All of this makes Web of Shadows arguably one of the best Spider-Man games ever made. And to me, it will always be one of my favorite Spider-Man games of all time.